Hello and welcome to Model Kit Stuff. My name is Jason and this is the June Roundup. So June all but done. It's 5 weeks since we last did a Roundup, and this month everything pretty much went to plan, which is good. And we had a nice little surprise at the back end of the month. Actually, we had two nice little surprises at the back end of the month, but more of that in a minute. Firstly, first impressions. We did some quite interesting first impressions this month. So if you've missed any of them, do go back and have a look. We had the new tool, new format, Red Arrow 172 scale starter set from Airfix. And actually that drummed up a little bit of interest. The idea is it's going to bridge the gap between a proper model kit and the quick build sort of Lego-esque type models, which have been very popular in the toy market with the youngsters. Now, my daughter Alice has made a few of the quick builds. She enjoys them, but what she doesn't do is take them apart again and rebuild them like you might do with Lego. So she builds it and she displays it, and she calls them display and play. So she's got it on a shelf. They're displayed with some of her models, and occasionally she'll take them off and have a mess with them, and then they go back on the shelf. So what Airfix are trying to do is bridge that gap and sort of gently nudge kids into building a model. So at the time that I'm recording this, you haven't seen part 2 of that. The intention actually is that we're going to finish filming that tonight. Alice is building it. When she started building it, she was 8. She's subsequently turned 9 in the last week or so. So she's building it, and then I will do a summary from her experience of building it. There'll be some footage of her building it, as she builds it, we ask her some questions. How are you finding it? Why are you choosing to do this and that? And it's really quite interesting. So I'm not going to spoil what happens, but that is something to look out for in July if we haven't got it done this month. So I'm not sure whether you've seen it or yet, but do look out for it. If it's not out, do look out for it. And yeah, it was quite interesting. I think quite a nice little kit. But yeah. Then we also did our first bomber review, which was the Mitchell, and a lot of people had love for the subject matter at least. And then we did the Sheer, and that was one of the more popular first impressions videos this month, which is good because Sheer is in the pipeline to be built. It's in the immediate pipeline, so as we start finishing some of the current projects, Sheer's going to crank up. And then we did the Yamashiro, and there was a lot of love for that. There appears to be quite a lot of interest in Japanese chips. That particular kit is quite difficult to come by, at least in the UK, and I had been searching that for a couple of years. There was one or two I'd come across which I hadn't purchased because the price was just crazy, you know. So I set myself a budget. If it's above that budget, I'm not getting it. This one just scraped in the maximum I was prepared to pay. So we added it. Glad I got it. Really nice kit, as you saw. And had a few questions that came out of the back of that. And maybe because we've done a few ship reviews now, I'm starting to get some ship-related questions. So we're going to come back and talk about that in a moment. In the form of builds, well, we've progressed the Lysander, and there's much more Lysander coming. We will finish Lysander in July, absolutely. That's my intention. We've done most of the construction, pre-construction. We've done the priming. We're now on assembly and final assembly and paint and decals. So my favourite part's coming up now. We've also progressed Arizona, so we did the secondary armament, we did those cranes, and and we've built up the one of the masts. So that's all ready for painting, and at time of recording this, that's my next step, is to get that painted, and then we're going to look at forward superstructure next, I think. Then we've got main guns, catapults, a couple of aircraft, and we're over the line. So I'm trying to put my foot on the gas with Arizona a bit and get that over the line, so that we can do another big project. And we'll come back to that in a minute as well. We've progressed Warspite. We're sort of working across the deck on the Warspite, and we've got, as I record this, our next step is bow fittings, bow deck fittings, and then we'll be starting on the main superstructure. And there's two large areas to build up, which can be built up as sub-assemblies and then fitted on. So exactly how that's going to play out, I don't know. Of all my builds, that's the one that's probably on the slowest timeline currently, just because of how involved it is with the Pontos set. And then, of course, there was Fly, and that's been very popular. I'm getting some lovely comments on that. It's interesting that there's a lot of people who appear to have fancied building a wooden model ship, like the look at them, never done anything in wood, so I've sort of been a bit hesitant about it, concerned about the dust and the mess and the workspace size and all of those things. So I'm really hoping that these videos are helping people understand them. We are almost at the point of doing the outer planking, the planking of the hull. And I think that's the bit that most people get worried about. But let me tell you this, if you go online, most people will be telling you to soak your strips of wood in a load of water, which I don't do. But what you'll find is people do plank bending by either soaking it, heating it up with a plank bender, maybe using there's a scissor type that puts little nicks in it and you can bend it. I do none of that. My solution is a lot quicker and really, really easy, and I'll explain it all in the video when it's coming up. But if you're worried about doing a model ship because of planking the hull, I'm hoping I can take that worry away for you, and you're going to go, yay, let's go and build a wooden model ship. That's the plan. So we have more Fly coming up in July. I'm looking forward to that. There's always a good level of chat. If you join the live chat when it comes out, which is 9:15 UK time PM on a Friday, if you're watching it then and hit the live chat button, you can join in the conversation. There's some of the usual suspects in there, and then one or two new people every time bob in and out. So that's always nice to see, and it's had some lovely feedback. So for those of you that have left comments, thank you very much. Bit of a double-edged sword though, the live chat, I've noticed. When I post a video, I get a number of nice comments. There's some people that pretty much comment on everything, which is great and lovely. A lot of respect for you taking that time out to do that. And then there's other people that will comment if they've got a question or you know that they've seen something that they really feel they want to talk about, and that's brilliant too. But when we do the live chat, some of the people that always comment are in the chat and therefore don't comment afterwards. And so some of the builds have got a few less comments than they normally have, I've noticed. So I know why, so I'm not worried about it. But yeah, that's what's behind that. Okay, so the other build, of course, was the 80th anniversary of the sinking of Hood and Bismarck, which we expressed through the building of HMS Anthony in 1/700 scale. And that got quite a bit of love, particularly for the little history bits that we did, which were personal to me. But I tried to do it in a way that people got an understanding of what life was like on that ship in and around that time. And I sort of think I pulled it off. Now, the last video is in pre-production, shall we call it, which means that most of that last video has been shot. There's still some little bits to do, some stills to do, and then we've got to edit it, get it down to an hour or thereabouts from several hours of footage, and turn it into something presentable. So we may well finish that in early July if I don't get a chance by the end of this month. I'd like to try and get it into this month, so I'm not sure whether that'll happen or not. But a lot of love for those videos, and I'm really grateful for that. So a big thank you to everyone who's liked the video or made a comment. The other thing that I learned out of that is my days of building 1/700 scale are all but done. The actual building up of the resin parts wasn't an issue. The photo etch, that is starting to become difficult. Anyway, that's what happened in June. So now there might be something else that's happened in June, because this morning, this is Thursday afternoon, I've just come onto my lunch break in work. This morning I got a message, or 2 emails from Hornby Hobbies, also known as Airfix, to say that they'd taken some money and that something that I'd pre-ordered quite some time ago was now in stock. So at this moment in time, today, it won't be today, but tomorrow or the day after, so Friday or Saturday, or if I'm really unlucky, Monday, we should have the long-awaited Vulcan being landing here. Now, my intention is that you should have already seen that by now, because as soon as it lands, I'm going to drop everything, do a first impressions video, and get it out, which means I'll be one of the first people to review it. And then we'll link it on ScaleMates and so on and so forth, which is something that I do. Now, I'm quite excited about that, and I'll explain it a bit more in the video, but there is 2 paint options on the Vulcan, one of which is nuclear anti-flash white, and that particular aircraft still exists today. If you go to the Avro Museum in Woodford, that aircraft stands outside the museum and you can fully walk around it. They also have the cockpit and nose cone of another Vulcan, which you can go in and sit in. And I've got a lovely photograph of Alice 3 or 4 years ago sat in there. Now, I used to work at the Woodford site many years ago when it was owned by BAE, and at that time we were building Nimrod and commercial aircraft, which is what I worked on. And that aircraft, the white one, sat at the edge of the runway, and there was some enthusiasts that were working on it, trying to get it back up to at least a condition where we could move it under its own power, which never quite came off. But also, it was a feature of many of the Woodford air shows at the time, and several years they had it open, and general public could go in and have a walk around it. So I know that aircraft really well, so I was really excited when I saw that was one of the paint options. So that's the paint option I'll be doing, the white one, even though the camouflage one's a bit more interesting. I think most people do that, but the white one's a bit more personal for me. So that's what we'll be doing. I'm hoping it'll be a lovely kit. They've certainly hyped it a lot, and they've put a lot of effort in it, and it's one of the most anticipated model releases of the last 18 months. So nice to see that finally get to us. So that's what we've done. What's coming up in July? Well, July we have some more first impressions coming. These are some of them here. Now, I have some others that I filmed during the course of June, which are still yet to go out. So, FAMO, for example, you'll see. I'm not quite sure where we are with the others. I filmed some, and then in the April roundup, a couple of people said, "Oh, I'd love to see a first impressions video of this model that I spotted in your stash." So there was a couple. One was the Fujimi Yamashiro, and the other was the Airfix Great Western. So we did those, which pushed back some of the other videos a little bit, which is no matter, doesn't matter at all. But we will be at least videoing these, and during the course of July, you should see these pop up. So we have the English Electric Canberra, which is an Airfix kit, and I'm not going to preempt what we say in the first impressions video, so we'll talk about how old it is and all that sort of stuff in there. But this one does have an extra paint scheme to the two provided, which is the general air test airframe, also known as the Raspberry Ripple. So it's a beautiful red, white and blue aircraft, absolutely stunning, and it's 1/48 scale. I'll just have a look at how large 1/48 scale that is, box, compared to a usual 1/48 scale box. It's a big old plane. It's a big old aircraft, is that. So expect to be seeing that. Also, we're going to do our first Airfix kit review, 1350. Airfix have only done 3 1350 scale kits in all the years they've been going, and they've been making ships for a long, long time. That you can divide them into 2 different camps. They're tall ships and then modern ships, for want of a better way of describing them. But they've only ever done 1350. This was the second one they've done. We'll talk about that in the first impressions video. The subject matter is beautiful. The kit is interesting. So definitely worth watching that. You can still get these. It hasn't been in the catalogue for a little while now. But they have re-released the Type 45, so there's a possibility that they could re-release that. Typically in the UK on eBay will go for around about 100 quid. You see them going for 50 quid, and with 6 days to run, and you're paying anywhere between 80 and 100 depending on how lucky you are. I was lucky with this one, and got it at the higher double figures, but certainly I can't remember exactly. I think it was 80, 82, something like that. So I felt quite lucky with it. Because I reckon if that cable got re-released, you'd easily be looking at 80, 90 quid anyway. But yeah, a nice little kit review, so look out for that. The other kit review we'll be doing is this, which is the Tamiya Heavy Cruiser Tow. So this is one of the few Tamiya kits that you can still get the Edward etch from Edward and get your 15% discount if you remember, and so on and so forth. They don't do the big Ed anymore, but they do the separate etch, and they still have it in stock. So if you're thinking about doing a ship and thinking about doing a Tamiya ship, this is a good one to go for. It's a lot better than their older ones, and I'm thinking Bismarck, Tirpitz, Enterprise, King George and Prince of Wales. Those older kits, pretty basic. Nice, easy kits to build, go together really well, but totally bereft of detail. And in the case of Bismarck, fairly inaccurate in places as well. Whereas this has got a good level of detail straight out of the box, and you could build that and just add the railings, and you'd be home without any issues. So it's a good kit to start from. So look out for that. I have the Edward set, and we'll review that in there as well. So yeah. Now in terms of builds in July, if we haven't finished Anthony, we will complete Anthony. As I've said, I want to get Lysander done. I'll be disappointed if we don't get Lysander over the line in July. That's my intention, and we're going to push on quite heavily with the Arizona. And the reason is, as I've said to you before, and if you're a recent subscriber, you might not know this, but I generally used to work on the basis of having 4 kit builds on the go. I have a big project, a medium project, a small project that I could pick up and drop off in between builds while everything else is drying or whatever. And then another project which, basically lost my mojo on these 3, I'm going to do that one. And usually with something totally different. So we've all been there. You've seen it recently amongst a number of model building YouTubers where they've just got fed up with what they're doing. It's easy to get stuck in a repetitive rut, especially if you build one model at a time. And I can't think of anything worse than building up Tiger tank wheels, for heaven's sake, or individual track links. I couldn't possibly build just one kit at a time. However, what I've found is building 4 kits is not something that I can manage as well as doing the YouTube video, because that takes some time as well. So I dropped it down to 3, and we might even drop it down further to just 2, which means the frequency of videos would be a little bit quicker. As 1 or 2 of you have expressed a little bit of frustration, particularly around the fly, and I'll come back to that in a minute. But so I want to try and get Arizona through the line, because that's a big project, and that means I can start another big project. And I think what we're going to do on the next big project is do one of the 132 aircraft. Not a big project in the scale of a 1/200 ship kit, which would take many, many months. And the reason why I don't want to do something that huge is because I do have fly running, which will take many, many months. Once you get to the planking, you really slow down. Then you speed up again when you're doing masts and other fittings, and then you get to rigging and you slow down again. So it's a bit peaks and troughs. So that's a big project, and it's carrying on. So my replacement plastic big project will be a 132 aircraft, possibly the Zucamura. That's where my head is at the moment, but that could change. Then whatever happens with Lysander or Warspite, whichever we finish first, most likely the Lysander, we will then be doing whatever you guys have voted for. Now, 1 or 2 people did leave a comment on the subscriber special video saying that they thought that in some way there was some subliminal messaging that possibly was designed at influencing how people want to vote. And I think it's important that I make this clear to people. I've tried to put a variety of different kits in there. So although I can't cater for everybody, I've tried to cater for most people in that collection of models. So there, if you like your aeroplanes, there's something there. If you like sci-fi, there's something there. If you like ships, there's something there. And you're quite within your rights to vote for whatever you want. Any suggestion that in some way I might be in some way through that video suggesting that you should vote in a particular way, I don't think is a fair comment, and you really should vote with where your heart takes you, and vote for whatever you think is the kit that that you'd like to see built next. And I don't know what that will be at this moment in time. When we count that up, we will announce that. And if we've not done a first impressions video, we'll do a build introduction, and which will include a first impressions element. I've yet to see what that will be, and I am not trying to influence anybody in any shape or form. So that's the other big thing that happened to the channel in June, is we hit that 1,000 subscribers mark, and that was really quite amusing, and I'm going to share with you. As a family, we had a real laugh about it. So it was a Tuesday night. It was actually my partner Paula, her birthday that day. England were playing, and I had recorded it because I was spending time with my partner, who's not interested in football, and generally I'm not. I only ever watch the England matches, so I don't watch team football, and I watch roughly half of the World Cup and half of the European Cup until we get knocked out. That's pretty much what happens. But anyway, I'd recorded this. Paula had gone to bed. I wasn't ready for going to bed, so basically what I did was put the football on, fast forward to the start of the match, so I got rid of an hour of rubbish commentary, started watching the football. By the time we got to the end of that recorded match, I just popped on YouTube to see if there was any comments that I wanted to catch up on, and there it was at 1,000. So I thought, all right, okay, let's release the video. So 3-4 weeks prior to that, I'd done the subscriber special video, and I'd loaded it up onto YouTube, and YouTube creators will understand what I'm about to say. I'd scheduled it for an event, a timeline well in the future. So I think I'd scheduled it for sometime in December. And then what you can do is you can go back into that and change the schedule to publish, and it goes live straight away. So that's what I did. It went live straight away. So I tidied stuff up, got ready for bed, got into bed, by which time 2 or 3 people had already left a comment. Went to sleep, got up the next morning, and I was back down to 999. So my daughters were absolutely laughing their head off. I think someone even commented, at the moment you're only 999. Well, I had been 1,000, then I went down to 999. So whoever that was that unsubscribed, thank you, you gave us such a laugh. And I didn't hear the end of it all morning. And then it went down to 998. And at the time of recording, I'm back at 999, but I'm still not at 1,000. But the video's out there. I can't take the video back, and I've had such a response to that video. A lot of people sharing how much they like the videos, and they came for one thing but have stuck around, or enjoy watching what I do one way or another. And whatever it is, whether you enjoy some elements of what we do and some videos, and whether you like to watch them all, you know what? A big thanks to all of you. It makes it worth doing. I'm enjoying doing this, and as long as someone's interested in watching, I'll keep doing it. But that brings me to something else. So we released that video, and obviously the video runs for a couple of weeks, which at this moment in time isn't over, and then we'll announce the results. So whatever gets chosen from that video will be what we build after, probably the Lysander or possibly Warspite, depending on which way it goes. So what happens next, I don't know, because it's down to you guys. Right, so other things that happened in June is we added to the stash. So generally this year I am not adding kits to the stash. That's my claim anyway. And so far, and we're nearly 7 months in, I've been fairly good at not adding to the stash. But June sort of went a bit awry. So firstly we had the Vulcan. And that was totally out of my hands. It was completely up to Airfix when that went into my stash, and in my defence, I ordered that as soon as you could order it, so it's been on order more than a year. So I can't be responsible for that going in. It was also Father's Day, and I can't be responsible for what's bought on Father's Day, and this year my Father's Day present was that of my two girls. So I've never built this kit before, or even this subject before. I don't very often build jets. So I've had a quick look. We will do a first impressions video of it. It comes with 3 paint options. I'm not quite sure which one we'll do, other than I know we won't be doing the yellow one. So that was very nice of them. So we added that to the stash. We also added this Comet from Gas Batch Models. So I got this pretty much as it came out. So right at the start of June, I received this, and I did do a first impressions video, and it didn't get released because I'd ordered some paint masks for it. So they do separately some vinyl paint masks, and unfortunately they sent me the masks for a different kit. So they've really only got 2 model kits out. If you've heard of them before, it's probably because you bought one of their little resin parts, upgrade parts. But they really have 2 German aircraft out. Now, one of them they have in 3 or 4 different iterations. And then the Comet came out. Now, I'm interested in the Comet. I like unusual looking aircraft, like the Lysander. This isn't quite an unusual looking aircraft, so I bought into this. And I had to wait for the masks. Now, I've now got the masks. They sorted that out very quickly, actually. So the video's been done, so look out for that as a first impression video as well. But that officially hit the stash this month. And I got a bargain deal that I couldn't resist on that. So I've never built a modern tank before. I don't think I've built a tank that was designed after 1944 before. So this will be a first when we get around to it. I think the base kit is 1985 with some modifications. I've not researched the history of it. But the subject matter is great. It's the British Challenger 2, as you would have seen in Iraq in the Gulf War. So that should be quite a lot of fun. Although it does need replacement tracks because they're those rubber band tracks. So it'll need something else. But I got that for about 1/3 of its retail value, so I was really, really pleased with that. Someone clearly clearing the stash, and inside everything's in its bags. Other than it wasn't cellophane wrapped, it was as good as new. So yeah, so we added four kits to the stash this month, and as I said to my partner, stash happens. So the other thing that I bought in June was this, which is a stand for your laptop. And you're probably wondering where I'm going with this. But 1 or 2 people have been requesting some more close-up shots of some of what I do. And this is the solution. I've already tried it, so you will start to see some more close-up work in the videos. It allows me to put my iPad on here, which is what I use for recording the videos. So it angles it, but if you reverse it and reverse the camera, it's pointing down rather than up, and suddenly you've got to come close up, and actually you can get really quite close on the iPad and get some really nice quality video on it. So there is some more close-up work coming up. You're not going to see huge amounts of it because it's a proper pain to film. Well, actually, it's not a pain to film. It's a pain to build the model while you're filming it. I've got 2 options really. This is either between me and the model in front of me, so you're seeing it from my perspective, or it's at the side of me. And what I found was I had trouble with lighting when it was between me and the model, casting a lot of shadow with my hands. So side on is what works, but that means I sort of have to build the model side on, so I can't look at what I'm doing so clearly. So there's been times where I can't get that on, so I've just turned the model and on it goes. So it's a double-edged sword, and as much as I want to give you a bit of a view as to what I'm doing, this is you watching me build my stash effectively. So we have to find a balance. So the other thing that I'm going to do, I have a fairly good quality digital SLR camera, which I don't use for videoing because it doesn't autofocus, which is how I prefer it for my stills photography. So what we'll do is more stills shots. I'm just in the process of cleaning the camera and what have you, and then what we're going to do is keep that next to the bench so I can take photographs at particular moments and break up and intersperse the video with some stills, so you can see what I'm doing, get a close-up shot, see what I'm doing, get a close-up shot. So we're gonna run with both and see how that plays out. I think taking the still is a much quicker way of working for me, but there are some things where you want to see the video. The other thing that we've started doing is putting some build to music in. I've had a little bit of feedback on that, so I'm tweaking it. Music volume is an issue, and I'm not sure how to get that music volume down. So I need to play with iTunes a little bit to get that, not iTunes, iMovie, to get that to work. But right now that's a bit problematic. So yeah, which leads me very nicely onto a couple of topics, the last couple of topics that we want to talk about today. Firstly, I've had quite a few different requests now for doing something a little bit different. So there's been some conversation about me having a Facebook page. There's been some people asking if I'm going to set up Patreon, particularly around the fly build. So the reason for, I have mentioned this before, but very briefly for those of you that are watching one of these roundups for the first time, the reason I do the YouTube is because it's a way of me controlling my output and managing successfully the feedback. And by that I mean, if someone comes along and is being nasty about what I've done or what somebody else has said, it's very easy for me to manage that and get that and stop that happening, block them, delete them, whatever. And I have to say, I almost never have to do it. YouTube is full of positivity as far as my channel's been concerned, and I'm grateful for that. But there are one or two people that come along and will just drop one word in, and I don't know what you're talking about, so I will delete your comment. If your comment doesn't make sense and it's not constructive, I'm just going to get rid of it. But a few people asked about, setting up a Patreon. I'm not going to do that. The reason that I'm not going to do that is because I want this to be my channel about what I do in my way. If I set up a Patreon, that means people are then paying me, and then I will feel obliged morally to do something different or do something that those subscribers that are paying into the channel want, which is not what I'm trying to do, and I don't want to go down that route. Now, I have supported a major forum before, and been tasked with doing parts of official builds and doing non-official builds to get people talking on the forum and that sort of stuff. And what it does is it takes, when that first happens, you think, oh, this is really exciting, it's something new with the hobby. What it actually does, it takes your hobby and turns it into a task. You've suddenly got goals and objectives. Well, I've got a job, thank you very much. I get paid for that. So it wasn't fun at all, and I knocked it on the head because, well, I won't go into the details, but I wasn't enjoying it, and it was making life stressful. And this, to copy what Ron would say, is about having fun. And there was nothing fun in doing the forums. So I won't do forums anymore. I actually follow 4 Facebook pages. It was 5. I've dropped Andy's Hobby Store this month because of some nasty individuals on there who didn't want to agree with my point of view and found it appropriate to be nasty about it. And the problem with the Facebook channels, particularly the very large ones like Andy's Hobby Store, which the output is great, the videos that come along are absolutely great, but it's almost impossible for the admins to manage the sheer volume of comments that they get. So there's bullying, there's nastiness, there's trolls that come along and just say something they don't necessarily believe just to start a fight and drop that hand grenade and walk away. And it's horrid. It is horrid. And so I follow 4 and I contribute to 2 is where I am at the moment with Facebook. I have had a Facebook channel of my own before, and I quickly found it was very, very time consuming to try and manage those people, and quite difficult, so we closed it down and deleted it. So I won't be doing a Facebook channel. Purely going to do the YouTube, and it's purely going to be on my terms. And what I'm finding is most people that are watching this and have subscribed are enjoying this. So I'm not going to change that formula particularly. So yeah, that's where I am on that. I do also get from time to time special requests. What's your view on this, or can you do a video on that? And I have said this before, and I'll just repeat it for those of you that are watching perhaps for the first time. Probably not. I am an amateur modeller that happens to video what I model, and then I put it on YouTube. And the reason I do that is partly I enjoy doing it, and it's something different to do with my hobby and share my hobby. Partly it's to allow people that might be interested in buying these model kits for themselves to get a view as to how the models go together, what you get in the box, what you might be buying into, and just share that with other modelers. And partly because I watch other people on YouTube and think, actually, that's a good idea. I've never seen that before. And it's like Brett G shared a tool for cutting circles, and that looks really cool. And I know he's planning to do a review video at some point, so when that comes out, I've got an opportunity then to see that and answer the question, do I want to buy into that or not? How would I use it or not? If you're going to make masks for roundels, it could be brilliant, better than my compass cutter that I have now. So it's those little things. There's always something new to learn. There's so much out there, and there's lots of people that have been doing this for a long time and have developed techniques that might just challenge what you do and be different. So I take from YouTube and I try and give back to YouTube, if that sort of makes sense. But I'm an amateur, and I'm not going to talk about things I don't know. So I did a video on mixing ratio for thinning Vallejo model colour. And I've been asked to do Vallejo Model Air, and we're going to do that. I've been asked to do Tamiya. I won't do Tamiya. I don't really like their paints. I use them infrequently. I find them difficult to work with. I'm not the best person to tell you how to use Tamiya paints. I know what I know. I don't know what I don't know, and I'm not going to talk about things that I don't know. I think that's unfair to you as a viewer for me to in some way blag you. Everything I do and say here, I honestly believe, even if you disagree with me, even if you think I'm wrong or there's a better way, it's what I do, and it works for me. And as modelers, that's what we all end up doing, is we find a way that works for us. So I have had one or two comments where they said, just get on with building this. Right, just be clear. I build one thing one week, another thing another week to stop me getting bored. If I just sit down and do one model, I will lose my mojo, and then after 2-3 weeks, I'll have a break from it. And you don't want that, I don't want that. So we keep flipping it around. I know that slows the build rate, but it's not a race. It's not going anywhere. So you should get at least one build video for every subject in a month. But with me slowly reducing my builds down to 2 builds, you should get 2 videos every month and maybe an extra one. And that will mean that you'll have a greater frequency, which will probably be better for some of you, and it'll stop the gaps between episodes a little bit. So that's sort of where we're heading, but I'm not just going to build one model, never going to do that. So okay, so the next thing to talk about is adverts. So with 1,000 subscribers, YouTube then put you in a position where you can run adverts on your videos. And I don't really understand how this works yet. I've got to get my head around it and what have you. We started the process of setting things up to do that, and then someone unsubscribed and suddenly I got kicked out of it all and couldn't do it. So I'm yet to understand it. But what it does is it gives you basically gives you an option to put adverts on your videos, and from that you generate some income. So my view is, this is my hobby, and I have no intention of letting anybody else fund my hobby. It's my hobby. You've seen my stash. I've got plenty to keep me going. I don't need money for equipment. I don't need money for models. I don't need to generate any form of funds to keep the channel going at all. So we're not going to do that. I'm never going to make a living wage from these model videos. So I'm not that interested in anything that's going to generate money for the channel particularly. Having said that, there is some work going on in the background with a charity, and if that comes off, then we may have a single advert on a video, either at the start or at the end, and any money will go to that charity. Now, I don't want to say anything more than that at this moment in time. It's a charity that I think my viewers would support regardless. It's a charity that I personally support, but I just want to make sure that I've got all my ducks lined up, that they're happy for me to talk about them. Clearly they'd be happy to take the money that the adverts would generate, but it's really about just making sure that all those T's are crossed and I's are dotted and so on. So that's the adverts bit. So the last thing I wanted to talk about is a question that I have been asked a lot quite recently, and that is a recommendation for the best model ship. And the basic line is, I haven't built a model ship before, I'm just coming back to building models, and I never built a model ship before. I'm thinking about building a model ship, not built one for a long time. What do you think about this particular model ship? Is it worth me getting? So on and so forth. So I have a lot of slightly different questions. I've also had one or two people saying, well, I'm thinking about building a model ship, so this is quite interesting. So there's clearly a lot of people out there who are seeing model ships being built and going, am I interested, am I not? So let's just deal with a couple of preconceptions and get them out of the way, and then I'll basically answer the question on what's the best model ship. Okay, so first preconception: model ships are really, really expensive. Depends on how you want to look at it. If we take, for example, this, in the UK, that's going to cost you somewhere between £130 and £140. Okay, and that gives you the basic model in the box. For that, you get everything you need to build a model kit, with the exception of railings. Okay, now you can buy generic railings, or even Imperial Japanese Navy railings, as just a pack of railings. Going to cost you about £10 in the UK. There's 2 or 3 different manufacturers, and you can get railings, and that is all you need to build that. Now, that's my personal view. You could build it without the railings. Personally, I think a ship isn't finished without its railings. Just my personal view. So, 130 quid, 140 quid maybe with railings, yeah? Take the brand new 172 scale Vulcan bomber. Okay, that's going to cost you £60 new. Okay, and in theory, you can build everything in that box and build a very nice model kit. But we all know that a lot of people like to go out and super detail them. And if you're a Vulcan enthusiast, you're going to want to improve the bomb bay. You're going to want to put metal landing gear struts on, and I'm probably going to put resin tyres on because they've got a better look than the plastic ones. And maybe you're going to get the etch set, which puts loads of detail into that cockpit that you won't see through the tiny little windows, or going to improve the look of the inside of the air vents and all that sort of stuff. Well, I bet you're spending 40 quid on that etch, and another 10 or 15 quid on the resin tyres. So what I'm saying is it all mounts up, and by the time you've added all those things together, you're almost at the price of a ship. And generally the ship model's quite a bit bigger, got a lot more parts, takes you quite a bit longer. So for me, model ships are actually good value for money. If you like building things and you like building models, you get a good return for your money on a model ship. That's just my view. So that boxes that one off. Model ship kits aren't that expensive. I mean, I picked that up for 80 quid. Even if you paid £100 for it, you've got, again, without railings, you've got everything you need in there. And if you buy a trumpeter kit, you can buy HMS Hood 1350. That comes with railings. It comes with little etch ladders. Comes with everything you need in the box. You don't need anything else. About 80 quid. So, sorry, ship kits are a good value for money. So the second thing I want to debunk, and I'm going to do this very, very briefly, because we could sit here and talk for another hour about it, is the comment that I see frequently, particularly on Facebook, when people ask these questions. Tamiya make the best model ship kits. No, they don't. Absolutely they don't. What Tamiya do with their ship kits is what they do with all their other kits. They beautifully engineer the kit. It will go together without any problems. It's not going to throw any surprises at you. It's why you recommend a Tamiya kit to new people into the hobby, because they're not going to have to problem solve around ill-fitting parts, warped parts, oversized parts, so on and so forth. But that doesn't, in its own right, make Tamiya the best model ship kits. If you're going to buy the King George, Prince of Wales, Enterprise, Bismarck, Tirpitz, the early Yamato, you're buying a very, very old kit, 85-ish. So, cracking on a bit in terms of engineering ability for injection moulded kits. And they are totally bereft of detail. And the Bismarck kit, well, Bismarck and Tirpitz I have some issues with. The Bismarck has some major parts missing completely, and the Tirpitz is the same basic hull as the Bismarck, even though the Tirpitz was longer, so it's not even particularly accurate. But it misses loads and loads of detail, and I'm not just talking rivet detail and oversized thick masts and that sort of stuff, but there is doors and scuttles and potholes and missing, trunking missing, wiring missing, ventilators missing. They're just basic. They'll go together really well, but the basic. So no, they don't. And even this kit here, and their newer kits, they've got solid wedge plastic staircases where you should have nice, beautiful inclined ladders and stuff. It's just not right in this day and age. And in some respects, the moulding technology and design behind modern Tamiya kits is behind people like Trumpeter. Having said that, if you've not built a model ship, then that's not going to give, Tamiya's not going to give you any issues, whereas that Airfix kit is definitely going to give you some issues. And you'll see when we see the first impressions video as to why you'll get some issues with that. So to answer the question, there isn't any such thing as perfect kit. That's my first point. And secondly, it depends on your subject matter. So if you've got a particular interest to buy a particular subject, you may well be stuck with the manufacturer that makes it. Because a lot of the subjects are only made by one manufacturer. Where it's a popular subject, case in point would be Bismarck or the Titanic, then pretty much every manufacturer makes it, and that is when we get a bit more interesting. If you said to me, who makes the best Bismarck, my answer would be, I'm not quite sure because I've not looked at the Trumpeter one. And I deliberately haven't looked at the Trumpeter one because I don't want to build a 350 Bismarck. I've built a couple in the past. I've got a 1200 one, don't want to build another one. But what I'd say to you is this. Revell make the best Bismarck. They have two, an older one and a newer one. The newer one is dimensionally accurate, has everything on, fits together really well. The bits that are oversized are easy to replace out, so some of the yard arms and things like that. There's lots of aftermarket for it which can make it super detailed and super accurate, and you can do all of that cheaper than buying the Trumpeter one. So if that's what you're after, go and do that. What's the best 350 model kit? In my view, it's still Trumpeter's HMS Hood. I think that is probably the best 1350 scale kit produced to date so far, and the reason is they did an awful lot of research with the HMS Hood Association, and they took on everything they said, and they got it very, very accurate. It's slightly out in places now because we've discovered more about the hood since they discovered the wreck, and some things have changed. You know, the paint instructions are now wrong for the lower hull. It shouldn't be red anymore, it should be grey, and that type of thing. But as a kit, it's got everything you need in the box. It's not massively priced. It's all to scale. It builds really well. It's a beautiful, beautiful kit of a beautiful subject. So that would be my recommendation. If you only ever build one 350 scale kit, that's the one to build. In my view, you know, other people have other views. Depends on what takes your fancy. But yeah, at the end of the day, what I'd say is if you fancy building a model ship, go and check out lots of reviews. Find some build videos on forums and YouTube. Do your research and spend your money wisely. Okay, hope that helps those people that have been asking those questions. I've not built every ship, so I can't comment on every ship. I'd love to have built every ship, but I haven't. Okay, I think that rounds it up for this particular video. It's been lovely to see you all again. Thank you for looking in. Thank you for subscribing and following what we do. And a big thank you to everyone who has taken the time to leave comments on the videos over the past month. It is greatly appreciated. It's nice to see those conversations happening. And I will see you all very soon. Take care, everyone.